It's a good pal Worm Hydra. Hooray! So I'm gonna kind of do like a big old like enemy palooza here. I'm just gonna go over the different enemies in Mount Galag, and maybe a couple others outside as well, because I kind of like for example with the Cactuar, for example, I kind of just like I ran into it, ate it with Quina, and then like that was it. We never saw it again. I didn't even like talk about it after. Like I didn't talk like Cactuars in this game like a whole bunch of weird have like a well not a whole bunch but a couple of weird like things about them. Worm Hydra here is actually very straightforward. They literally just go through their attacks in a fixed order. Because like the idea is that each of the like the Hydra's heads does an attack, and then like they literally just go through they cycle through each head doing their own breath. And then, you know, once they finish their little like going through each head, they just reset. So you can see like that middle head is the one that does flame, for example. You know, the very head on the left is the one that does venom, and the head second from the left does arrow breath, and then this one I think does the cold breath. And the one on the very right does the lightning. I should also mention that up until, like, at this point, most enemies have become smart enough that they'll always avoid using status effects on characters that already have them. Ooh, jeez. Ow. Yeah, nice one, Zidane. But, yeah, it's literally as simple as this. They just go through each attack in linear order. And that's pretty much it. Once they reach the end, they just reset, right? They don't have any like notable weaknesses otherwise. Like we saw last time, they're weak to ice and they take half damage from fire. And other than that, like, because they don't have a physical attack, you know, the usual stuff, right? They're immune to berserk and confused, but otherwise, everything else works on them. They're also like, for how big and chunky looking they are, they don't have that much health. They have just under 5,000. So like, literally one Blizzaga from Vivian, I can eat them with Quina. Like that right there actually almost killed them. Because they have like 4,800 or so. This is something that's kind of annoying with this game. I don't know what it is. It's like they ran through so many things for just like a random number generator. Like I think let me actually look at the wiki right now. Like this thing has 4,846 HP. Like why that amount? Why is this such a like an arbitrary number? Like compared to say like Final Fantasy 7, for example, in that game most enemies have very like flat numbers for like HP amounts. Like they're not gonna have some random numbers. It'll be like, you know, they'll have 1,000 HP or something like that. Like I don't know why in this game in particular they're so like weird about it. And like MPs like that too. Like so many things are like this. I'm just gonna quickly like find a different enemy here. Heck yeah, the Veppals and grenades. Nice. The grenades are actually super straightforward. Like literally they just have their attacks they can do, that's it. The Veppals are a little weird, and this is kind of caused by like the developers like to use different numbers, or like different I should say whatchamacallit, like different what's the term? Like different formulas for getting random probability. And in a lot of cases, like the numbers they choose aren't all that different from each other. Like in a nutshell, basically at the start of the fight, they set their Scorch counter to get random. Like they use a, I'm not even sure what's actually the, what do you call that term? I always called it the and symbol, but like I don't think that's, I guess ampersand. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's, you know, they do the, you know, get random ampersand 1, which functionally basically means it's a 50% chance that they'll set their Scorch counter to. I'm not even sure how this works because I haven't done programming stuff in forever, so I'm kind of stupid. But it seems to me that the way that it ends up happening is that they're very likely to use Scorch at the start of a fight, but not guaranteed. And also, sometimes like, oh wow, nice trance. I guess that's what happens when I load a save file, where if he's like one attack away from transferring, who would have thought? They use, get random ampersand 1 at the start of a fight to set their Scorch counter, and then after that, they do the percent sign one, where I don't know what there's probably a more proper term for these, but they do a get random percent 3, which is basically a 3 in 4 chance, I believe, or something like that. Like, what is it? -1 divided by n. Let me just double check this. Wait, what is it here? Let me just double look at this. So, it's get random percent 3, which basically means, like, the way that this works is it's basically the number in there -1, and then you divide that number by the number. So it'd be like, in this case it's 3, so I think it's 3 minus 1, which would be 2. And then you divide that by 3. So it's a 2 in 3 chance for them to use Scorch, I believe. However, I betcha this one on the left I don't think has done Scorch yet. So let me see here. I think the way this works is basically at the start of a fight, there's a 50% chance that they're allowed to use Scorch. And if they are allowed to use Scorch, they're very likely to use it right away, basically. Because it's like a 2 in 3 chance for them to use it, and then there's a 50% chance at the start of a fight that they'll even use it to begin with. I think that's how this goes. Let me see here. That sounds right, I think. Sploosh. Because this one on the left here has not attacked with Scorch yet, and I'm kind of curious. Yeah, this is probably what happened last time. There's like a good chance that it's literally 50-50, and like sometimes they just won't use Scorch at all. But if they do use Scorch, they're very likely to use it. I believe that's how this goes. Hey, there's Firaga. Did we even see this before? I don't even remember. But I mean, just in case we didn't, there you go, I guess. By the way, I thought these guys are weak to water. They are not weak to water. It's just that Vivi's water spell is just stupid strong at this point. Because the Octagon Rod is boosting it by like 50%, right? So... this kind of goes to show. I think it's funny that the grenades kind of sound like a bird, if that makes sense. Like they have that... like they have that that screech to them that kind of sounds birdy. But yeah, like that this guy on the left hasn't used it yet, so I think there's a good chance he just can't use it now. Because at the start of the fight, basically, he just rolled the 50-50 on whether he can use it, and he failed, so... this is why oftentimes what'll happen is like I said, you'll often see like either both of them or none of them just immediately Scorch. It's an interesting little like quirk of them to have like one of their like their signature move just be kind of like turned off for them sometimes. And yeah, like I said, they won't use Mustard Bomb on any character that already has heat. They don't check for immunity. I don't think any of the enemy in this game actually checks for status immunity off the top of my head. They just check if you have the status or not. Because I guess that's their way of making the status abilities a little better. It's like it makes enemies also waste their turns. I mean, I guess since I'm here, let me mention some of these like accuracies. Because like, up until this point, it's been like I've just kind of like thrown out a couple like random numbers, or what is the term? Like, he's gonna type this in. So Vivi's spells have accuracy, right? So I guess I'll just go over them quickly here. So sleep is 50% accuracy base. So sleep kind of sucks, frankly. Like 50% is not the worst, I guess, but Quina has night, which kind of, you know, most of the time you have Vivi, you actually do also have access to Quina. So sleep is not that great. Slow, on the other hand, is 60%. Really? Slow is only 60%? Man. I feel like Vivi's accuracy spells in particular are, like, not great. Like, Stop is 40%. I'm not even going to scroll through the list. I'm just going to go through the wiki. Poison is 60%, which is, like, not the worst, but, like, you know, why? Like, once you get Bio. Bio only has a 20%, but it's, like, at least you're doing good damage. Stop is 40%, yeah. At least with Stop, it's like Stop instantly kills them. Demi is also only 40% as well. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, they really made Vivi's stuff crap. Like, Demi is 40% accurate, and it only does 30% of their max HP. So, like, it does slightly more than Aqua Breath, but it doesn't have innate multi-target, right? Which means that if you multi-target it, it's even worse. I think by default... Right, I remember mentioning that if you multi-target, it halves the accuracy. So if you multi-target, Demi's like 20%. Aqua Breath is 25% of their health, but it's 50% accurate. So it's slightly weaker, but it's more accurate. It has an element attached to it, so you can actually take advantage of that to boost the damage. And it's multi-target by default, so you can hit everything. Vivi does have Death, and Death is at least 35%, which is like, it's inaccurate, but like at least it just insta-kills them compared to something like, you know, like Sleep, where it's like, oh, it's a 50% to maybe cripple them a little bit. Break is 40% as well. So Break isn't even any more accurate than Stop. So they're basically the same thing. Like, it's just weird to me that like they're so like bad about Vivi's status spells in particular being just super weak. At least Osmos and Drain don't miss in this game, like in some other games. Like in Final Fantasy V, Drain and Osmos can be kind of crappy a lot of the time because they can in fact miss. And a lot of enemies in 5 have very high magic evasion, so it's just kind of a thing. Anyways, I should actually mention Comet. That's a good one. So Comet in this game is interesting because Comet's accuracy is inaccurate, but I believe it is like it doesn't check enemies' magic evasion at all, I want to say. Let me actually double check this. So let's check on the wiki here. I'm just the wiki guy today. Wiki actually doesn't mention. Comet's chance to hit is 2 and 3. That's something I do remember. And the damage it does is literally... What it is the base damage of the spell is 56, and then it literally just uses a random number from 1 to Vivi's magic stat plus his level. So it actually, Comet's damage can be quite random, but the one benefit it has, besides, like, even though it's inaccurate, and it can do random damage, but, the damage it does is at least, like, completely unaffected by magic defense, so... Comet can actually do good damage against a couple enemies in this game that have very high magic defense. There's one in particular I can think of, and I guess there's actually 2 I can think of, but... I feel like because the random number is very high, you can generally expect it to do somewhere around the average of that number, but unfortunately it can also just miss, so... It's not the greatest thing. Comet is very much just like a... None of my spells are particularly strong against this guy, so I'll just throw out Comet for fun. This is kind of a thing that I think I've already mentioned this, but this is kind of a thing that Final Fantasy IX does, I will admit, kind of suck at, is... It feels like it doesn't encourage you to, like, fuck around with spells much. Pardon my language, but, like... Like, Frost and Mustard Bomb are, like, what? 25% accurate, I believe? Or are they 30%? They're 30%, I believe, right? That sounds right. You know what? I'm actually going to double check on that, because screw it. At this point, I might as well just check up a bunch of numbers. Because I remember correctly, yeah, these are both 30%. Trying to check, like, I get, like, even something like roulette, for example, like I mentioned, like, roulette actually has 100% accuracy, but, like, it's very rare for you to be in a situation where this is beneficial, because most of the, like, I guess in the worst case scenario, you can just revive your characters. Like, it's not a big deal, but it's like, I don't know. Like, it feels like this game very much encourages you to just do damage. Like, the best stuff in this game is just stuff like Limit Glove, where it always does damage. As long as you meet the criteria, you know? And even things like the Minor Strike and Pumpkin Hit of this game, like, your damage skyrockets at this point so much that, like, Pumpkin Hit and Minor Strike are just not useful anymore. Except against, like, enemies that, like, pierce, like, or, like, I guess have extremely high defense. Like, I guess, back with Valley of Pyra, if you didn't get the stone that, like, lets it, like, and, like, he doubles his defense, because his defense is actually pretty high at that point, that's, like, the one scenario where this would be useful. But, like, they're just not very, like, they don't like you, like, I don't know how to put it, like, I guess Night is an exception to this. Night is a very quirky spell. Like, Vivi's, like, or, Vivi, the accuracy of Night is, like I said, it's 255, so it actually can't miss by default. The only way it can miss is by magic evasion, and most enemies at this point, like, even in the late game, enemies don't tend to have very high magic evasion. Like, I think most of the enemies around this point, including, like I mentioned with Valley of Pyra, right, their magic evasion is 6. Because, like, they don't tend to actually, like, give enemies differing amounts. They tend to just very slowly go up through the game. Like, this is, like, the case with most enemy stats. So every enemy around this point has 6 magic evasions. So basically, there's a 94% chance for Night to work. It's actually, this is one situation where it's actually in your favor, because you can generally have much higher magic evasion than enemies with, like, the right equipment on and, like, accessories and stuff. Like, you can bump yourself up to, like, 30% or something like that, so it can be pretty good in that regard. Funny enough, the best status spells in this game are 100% Garnets. Like, Odin, like I said, Odin is just the number of ore you have divided by 2. So Odin with max ore is just a 50% chance to inflict death on enemies, which is, like, pretty good. In fact, let me just do this for a sec here. And while I'm here, let's show up this combo I talked about a couple times, but never actually, like, did. So we flip this guy around, and we're gonna put him to sleep. Even Zidane status spells suck ass, except for Soul Blade. Soul Blade is awesome, without a doubt. Soul Blade is, like, the best one in this game by far. And I'm really glad that they made Soul Blade a cool spell, because it's like it's nice that this is a cool spell. You know what I mean? That it does the status that, like, is on your weapon, which that's cool. But, like, Annoy is 50% accurate, and unlike with some other status spells, right, you can't boost this with your magic stat. Well, I mean, you can, but Zidane obviously has a much lower magic stat than Vivi, so you can't boost it very much, unfortunately. Oh, we actually have Lucky 7 on. Well, I mean, I was gonna... It's kind of funny, I was gonna use just a regular attack, but it's like, we haven't seen Lucky 7 in a while, I'm just gonna use it. Even though, like, this is just a half part and this doesn't really matter, but, like, hey, why not? Boom! That's interesting. So that flips him around, but it didn't actually, like, wake him up. Does Lucky 7... It says it deals physical damage, but I guess it isn't actually flagged to wake up enemies. That's interesting. I wonder if that actually flipped him around or not. Let's see. It did definitely wake... It did actually, like, flip him around, because that's why he didn't take, like... Because that was 50% damage. Whereas if he hadn't, you know, gotten flipped around by that properly, it would have been, like, in the, like, 2000s. Anyways, I'm just gonna cut here, because I don't need to kill these guys anyways. And I'm just wasting time. We need to find the whatchamacallit, the ghost dudes. So I'll cut when, I find those dudes. So see you in a little bit, mon frere. Hey, there they are, ghost dudes. Hell yeah. So same thing with the like I was saying with the Worm Hydra, right? They're smart enough to not use their status attack on the guy who already has the status attached to them. However, it is worth noting that they do have an attack we haven't actually seen yet, and I just kind of wanted to show that off more than anything. Like their attack, their thing is literally just like they're very likely to either use Devil's Candle or their elemental attack, but they do have one rare attack that they can use. Those, and also once again, they're each weak to the respective element and resistant to their their actual element, you know what I mean? Like the fire one's weak to ice and resist fire. They're notably, because they are flying, they're weak to wind, and they're also weak to holy. And actually, they are vulnerable to Quenna's level 4 holy, so I guess I'll just show off that damage. Just in case we want to see that. Because I haven't used this spell I actually against something forever. Oh wait, only the ice one is vulnerable? Wait, really? Let me look this up. The red one's level 37, huh? Anyways, here we go. There's Doom. I'm gonna guess their Doom spell has high accuracy. I guess in that regard, thinking about it, based on what I said that last time, I guess that's why enemies' status spells tend to have high, they're a high base chance, because you can have much higher magic evasion than the enemies can. So I guess that's the balancing factor for some reason. We've already seen Doom, obviously, but I just want to show off that these guys can cast Doom. And it's interesting to me that the one on the right there is not the same level as the blue flame. That's funny, actually. I actually had no idea. But yeah, like I said, this game really doesn't encourage status stuff. It encourages the ones that are good, but even Zidane Annoy, it's why is Annoy 50% accurate? Why do they make this, you have to give up your physical attack and cast using MP, and it's only a coin flip generally about. If you're higher level and you have good magic, it's better than that. You can actually raise your chance to hit with status spells pretty high if you're leaning into it, but because level plays a factor in it, you kind of have to if you want an easy high accuracy chance, you have to just kind of level up. To be fair, the add status stuff isn't bad. Vivi actually has a decent, I think it's a 30%, it's 35% with the Octagon Rod to inflict trouble. And that's not affected by anything, so it's actually a decent chance. I don't remember if I even have it on, though. I guess we'll show off Twister on them, show off the damage. Twister's very random, once again, so... Twister uses the same formula that Comet does, so... It's just, it uses a number from up to, from 1 to Quenna's magic stat plus his level. So it can potentially do, you can see, it can actually do very high damage at this point, especially because, one thing that's nice about Twister over Comet is that, Comet can miss, Twister can't. And Twister, is wind damage, so once again, it can be boosted by, elemental weaknesses, elemental boost equipment. And also, a lot of stuff in this game is just weak to wind. Pretty much anything that's floating is going to be weak to wind. So it's actually quite good, I would say. It's definitely way better than Comet, honestly. Comet only really has an advantage against a couple specific enemies that are otherwise just I guess I should say enemies that naturally have high magic defense, which is surprisingly rare in this game. There's really, it's I will spoil that one of the super bosses has very high magic defense. And there's one special enemy that I might show off. Well, I definitely will, but I don't know if we'll fight it, because you don't have to fight it, and it doesn't really, there's no reason to fight it. But it does have, insanely high magic defense as well. I'll also mention, I haven't even talked about Thievery at all, and I guess I'll mention this right now. Just because, like, why not? So, Thievery, if I remember correctly, the damage that Thievery does is... it's how many times you've stolen times your speed divided by 2. I believe that's what it is. This is one of the only attacks in the game where your speed set is actually very important because it directly influences the damage it does. It's worth noting that it isn't just steals that Zidane's made, so you don't steal much with the Tantalus crew, obviously, because you don't use them for very long, but the steals that they make also influence it. It's just number of steals you made in this game file, so... you can actually calculate how many times Zidane's stolen by looking at this number, in fact, so... let's see how much damage this does. $4,765. Wow. So 4,765. Let me actually look. Let's look this up. 4,765. Let's not forget that. 4,765. It's actually a pretty easy number to remember because it's just 4, 5, 6, 7 in a different order. So 4,765, right? And Zidane has a speed set of 27. So I believe 4,765. If we divide 4,765, I guess let's times that by 2 and then divide that by 27. We can say that Zidane has stolen about 353 times, right? Because if we do 353 times 27 and then divide that by 2, 4,765. Yeah, so he's stolen about that many times. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool that you can actually kind of organically see that number. So once again, 4,765, just times that by 2 and then divide that by his speed stat, which is 27. He's stolen about 353 times. It's interesting that it's not a round number, though. I'm getting slight fractions here, so there might be... I'm guessing that's because Final Fantasy IX doesn't use... it only uses ints, which means it only uses whole numbers. It doesn't use fractional numbers. Fractional numbers are always shaved off. I believe this game always just shaves the the fractional amounts off. So you can essentially say it always like grounds the number to the nearest. Like if you know, if Zidane for some reason had a speed stat of like 27.8, for example, in actuality he only has a speed stat of 27, right? It always just what's the term for that? I want to, like, in my head it's like you round it to the lowest number, basically. So you always round it to 27, but I think there's like a term for that. And I know I've said this plenty of times before, but oh, it floors it. It floors the number. Right. Jeez, like you can really tell I'm scatterbrained. But yeah, Thievery floor, like everything else in this game, floor the number. So there you go. I guess that's everything in Mount Gulag. The Red Dragons, there's nothing to say about them. They literally just have 3 attacks they can do. And they just pick one of their 3 attacks like at random, equal odds. It's just 1 in 3 per each. So there's literally nothing special about them. They're a very straightforward enemy. Anyways, I guess we'll go show off Cactuars. That'll be the last thing we show off, I think, because other stuff we'll just do later. I don't know. This has been a long enough half part as it is. So, anyways, see you for the Cactuars. There's our fellow Cactuar friends. So Cactuars, if you look at their ATB on the wiki, it seems kind of complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. Basically, when they basically switch between these 2 states, and the idea is when they're above, you want to wait for them to be above ground, because when they're above ground, you can basically attack them for free. Right? You just go wacky whack or whatever, right? Now, it's notable that they are treated as cactuses, so they absorb water. Keep that in mind. But you just go smack. And when you do that, I believe any attack generally will make them hide. The funny thing is they actually won't react to being eaten. Or I should say, they won't react to you trying to use eat. Or actually, wait a minute. Actually, let me double check this. Huh. So actually, they won't react to cook, which is Quina's trance version of the skill, but they don't care about eats. That's interesting. So I think, you know what, this is something for you to figure out yourself, because I'm not going to go dig around for this right now, but this is an interesting little bit of trivia for you, if this is true, is that apparently you can cook them, and that's fine, but eating them will make them counter. And yeah, basically the idea is, let's, I guess I'll have Zidane, because I think actually I probably should have unequipped their super strong weapons here, because... Basically, like, you can see, the idea with these guys basically is they're trying to bait you into attacking them, and then they also want to confuse you. And the idea is that they confuse you and then make you, like, you confuse, attack them, and then they counter with 1,000 yield, right? That's the idea. When they're above ground, I believe they react to most, like, damaging moves by going back down. They don't react to steel, though, worth noting. So you can mug them for some damage. That's like the basic idea. Like, they're trying to counter, and they also counter, like, when they die, they'll also immediately counter by going, you know, they'll use 1,000 heals even on death if they're in the ground, so keep that in mind. Their encounter rate on the Forgotten Continent is pretty, like, haphazard, depending on where you are. Right now we're in the area where that, like, weird wind cave was. And in this area, they have about a 30% chance to show up. It's the highest on the continent. But if you're in this wind cave area and, like, it's not evening like it is right now, their encounter rate is actually the lowest. It's only, like, 5%. It's like, it changes a lot based on where you are on the continent, so, like, keep that in mind. Let me look here. So, yeah, okay. So I was interesting about this. I guess because I made everyone immune to confuse, so I can't really show this off. But if they confuse you, they'll also, like, if they try to use confuse on someone who's who already confused, instead they'll use haste and speed you up, which is like a very funny. It's like a pretty unique interaction, I guess. It's pretty funny. They'll, like, try to speed up confused people to, like, make them attack them faster, which is very funny, I think. I guess I can't show this off, but because we're all immune. But they're funny little guys. Oh wow, they actually critical. Holy shit! These are funny little guys, you know. Like, I like this game's characterized. Like, it's funny how, like, they're like this cactus dude that goes in and out of the ground, and, like, they actually, like, they're trying to bait you into attacking them. Like, it's a cool idea for a fight. They're a little scary at this point too, because, like, obviously they do a lot of damage. And, like, even if you kill them, right, you can't avoid their counter if they're under the ground, so you have to be careful. Holy moly, Quina. Also, sometimes they just go nuts and just start head attacking you constantly. Right, because his weapon is water. I thought he had healer on. No, his weapon is just water. That's funny, actually. And now command failed just in time. I guess I'll show this off. Go back in the ground, buddy. You want to go back in the ground, or are you just going to not do that? I think they don't go back into the ground unless you counter them. Or unless you attack them, as far as I'm aware. Maybe, actually. Let me double check on this. So, like, it's part of their counter is what'll make them hide. Do they hide normally? It looks like they in fact do not. So they won't actually hide until you attack them. And yeah, like, they specifically, like, they'll use confuse, and then if the target is confused, I think they'll immediately try to use haste on you, which I guess I can't. Maybe I should I'll do a second one then. I'll go into this fight without being confused, without confusing me, and we'll see how long we last if we can show stuff off. So yeah, I guess that's the last thing I'll show off is getting like murdered by cactuses. So see you in a little bit, mon frere. Hey, there's our cactuar friends again. So let's watch them beat us up, basically. Do 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 ba do ba boo ba boo ba boo boo boo. Wait, I didn't take clear-headed off of Freya? Really? I guess that's fine. I definitely took it off of everyone else, so I guess Freya's gonna be the rock. Do ba do 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 do. That's funny though, she can actually fail when she's confused too, which makes sense, but it's like it's a funny interaction that like even when she's confused she can still fail to attack, which is actually kind of useful, I guess, in some way. But yeah, you can see there that they are very much of the like they'll use haste on a character who's confused. There you go. Like there you go. See that. Let's do another round, I guess. I'm also curious about this. I'm gonna use Lucky 7 on this guy and see if that makes him go down. So that'll do 1 damage. It says it's physical. Does it trigger them closing? Sure does. What? I didn't take it off of Amarant either? How? There we go. How did I only take it off of 2 characters? Am I stupid? Don't answer that. Miss. But they'll still counter with 1,000 needles, even if you miss, baby. And that's the scary thing. Because Confusion has their accuracy, right? So I'm kind of curious about this though. Do they use haste when they're under the ground? Hard to tell because they're just coming back up. they even react to you missing a physical attack on them by going back underground. It looks like it's kind of hard to tell, but it doesn't look like they'll use haste under the ground. I guess we'll see here in a second because I'm making these two go back down. Because I think when they, like the one that uses haste will be the one that confused that character, right? That's something to keep in mind. They don't just use haste haphazardly on confused characters. They specifically will, like, be like, oh, I confused this character. That's the character I confused. Next time I'll try to use haste on them if I get the chance to. So if I don't do anything, let's see what happens. Because these guys have come up and down a couple times now, so... Nice dodge, Amarant. There we go. There's the haste. Command failed. Actually, maybe was I wrong about that? Maybe I'm wrong about that, and they just use haste on whoever. Just only when they're above ground, basically. That was a natural miss, because Amarant didn't even react. Which is kind of funny. Anyways, just to, like, double show off here that, like, when you're, just kind of chilling here, they do not give 2 dams. They'll just keep smacking you forever. Dagger, you're busting my balls here a little bit. Alright. think that's pretty much everything for this part, though. Like, there's nothing else for me to really show off here. I guess I can mention that No Mercy is if you're curious, it's a 1.7 times multiplier. I believe it's actually the same multiplier as Dark Side that Steiner uses, which is kind of funny. It's worth noting that No Mercy is a physical attack, and it will actually take on the elemental properties of Amarant's weapon. However, while it takes on the elemental properties, it isn't boosted by elemental boost equipment, unlike... Oh, that's funny, they react to White Draw too. That's kind of a, I guess you could call that a quirk of White Draw. But even though No Mercy will take on the elemental properties of his weapon, but it will not be boosted by elemental boost equipment, unlike the regular physical attack. That is something to keep in mind. So, like for example, we can even show off, like if I just hit him with this No Mercy right now, it's going to do a ton of healing basically, because it's going to do like almost twice as much, and it is still water. It's worth noting that because there are like instances where it does not, basically like that is not the case, where it will not take on the elemental properties of the weapon. It is like this for No Mercy, and I believe one of Steiner Slater's skills. And all the other instances of attack skills are not like that. Because like the ones that are magical in nature will just be non-elemental magic, and I want to say Dark Side is also just a dark spell, so, or it's dark element I should say, so it's physical but it just does dark elemental damage, so it doesn't really care about what element you are. Anyways, yeah, that's it for this part. Right, that's just everything. We're just doing the Cactuars and stuff, so yeah, see you next time for more Malkala.